I thought I was doing what I always did, showing up for my family. Being the rock, the fixer was my role. Or so I believed until that day. But when Mom called, her voice trembling, saying Amber's graduation party was cancelled because she was sick, I didn't question it. I made her favorite chicken soup, organic just like Mom's, and drove 2 hours from Boston to Framingham, the pot sloshing beside me. I wanted to be the sister who cared, who made things right. But when I arrived, I saw balloons, cars, laughter pouring from the house. My heart sank. They weren't mourning Amber's illness. They were celebrating without me. The lie cut deep, a betrayal from the family I'd do anything for. They didn't want me there. That lie broke something in me, a fracture in the core of who I thought we were. I'm Megan Carter, 32, the eldest, the achiever who always showed up. But that day, I learned my family saw me as a shadow they needed to escape. This is the story of how I walked into a party I wasn't invited to, found a secret group chat that shut me out, and faced the painful truth. My perfectionism, my drive, pushed them away. It's not just about their betrayal. It's about our fight to rebuild, to confront raw, messy truths and find a path back to each other. This isn't a tale of revenge. It's a journey toward redemption, one we're still navigating. Stick with me for 70 minutes of raw, unfiltered truth. This isn't a neat revenge story. It's messy, heart-wrenching, and deeply real. You'll see a family unravel, secrets exposed, hearts shattered. But you'll also witness our struggle to heal, to forge something stronger from the ruins. If you've ever felt betrayed by those you love most, this story is for you. Hit that bell to stay with me, because this isn't just my journey, it's ours. Share your own pain, your own healing in the comments below. Let's dive into this together, because facing the truth, no matter how hard, is worth every second. I promise you it's transformative. I'm Megan Carter, 32, the eldest of 4 in a family that thrived on celebration. Growing up in Framingham, Massachusetts, our home was the heartbeat of every milestone. Picture this: Dad, Thomas, 60, firing up the grill, smoke curling through the summer air. Mom, Nancy, 58, pulling her famous red velvet cake from the oven, the kitchen warm with laughter. My siblings, Amber, 24, the free-spirited artist who just graduated from UMass Amherst. Haley, 27, the quiet mediator. And Ryan, 21, studying abroad in Germany, filled our house with chaos and love. We were the Carters, a loud, messy clan where every achievement, from a good report card to a soccer goal, meant a backyard party. Aunts, uncles, cousins, they'd all show up, toasting with lemonade or champagne, depending on the occasion. Those gatherings were sacred, stitching us together through years of scraped knees and teenage dreams. I was the big sister, the one who set the pace, who made sure everyone was okay. My job at Horizon Strategies in Boston as a senior brand manager kept me sharp, driven, always planning the next win. But Framingham was home, the place I'd return to, no matter how crazy work got. Or so I thought. Looking back, I didn't see the cracks forming, the subtle ways my family was pulling away, maybe because I was too busy being the one who always showed up. But that day when I walked into a lie, I realized home wasn't what it seemed. Have you ever felt like the ground you stood on shifted? That's where this story begins, and I need you to hear it. They called me Mighty Meg, a nickname that stuck because I was always first. First to get straight A's, first to make varsity, first to graduate college with honors, first to land a big job. I wasn't just chasing success. I was building a path for Amber, Haley, and Ryan to follow. At least that's how I saw it. I'd stay up late helping Haley with essays, quiz Ryan on history, or cheer loudest at Amber's art shows. My achievements weren't about outshining them. They were proof we could all make it. But being first came with weight I didn't notice. Amber, with her paint-splattered jeans and wild dreams, struggled under expectations she never asked for. Haley, always the peacemaker, hid her doubts to avoid my advice. Ryan, the baby, got teachers comparing him to me, their star student. I thought I was leading, blazing a trail through life's chaos. But maybe I was casting a shadow, one my siblings couldn't escape. My job at Horizon Strategies demanded everything. Late nights, big pitches, constant hustle. When I got promoted to senior brand manager, I felt invincible, like I was proving the Carter name meant something. But every trophy I brought home, every story of my latest win, seemed to widen a gap I didn't see. They'd smile, say, proud of you. But now I wonder what they didn't say. Did my success feel like pressure? Did my drive feel like judgment? I was so focused on being Mighty Meg I missed the cost. That's the thing about family. You think you know your place until one moment shows you how wrong you were. Mighty Meg wasn't just a nickname. It was my identity, born from fixing everyone's problems. As a kid, I'd bandage Amber's scraped knees, organize Haley's messy room, check Ryan's fever when Mom worked late. I loved being the one they leaned on, the big sister who made things right. I remember one summer, Amber, maybe 12, had a school art project, a collage about family. She was struggling, pieces scattered, glue everywhere. I stepped in, suggesting layouts, picking colors, thinking I was saving her. She got an A, but later I heard her tell Mom she redid it alone because my help felt like control. I laughed it off then. Classic Amber, so stubborn. But now that memory stings. I didn't see how my fixes made her feel small, like her ideas weren't enough. I thought I was lifting her up, showing her how to shine. Instead, I was stealing her light. Every time I offered advice or tweaked their plans, I thought I was being the good sister. But to them, I was Mighty Meg, the one who always knew better, who turned their moments into projects to perfect. That day, driving to Framingham with a pot of soup, I still believed I was the fixer, the one they needed. I didn't know I was walking into a truth that would unravel everything. Have you ever thought you were helping, only to learn you were hurting? That's what I was about to discover, and it changed how I saw myself, my family, and the love we thought we shared. Success came at a cost I didn't see coming. My job at Horizon Strategies swallowed me whole. Endless meetings, late-night emails, chasing the next big campaign. Boston felt a world away from Framingham, and my monthly visits home became rushed, more duty than joy. I'd breeze in, share work stories, then leave, thinking I was still part of the family rhythm. But I missed things. Like Ryan's send-off party before he left for Germany. A deadline kept me chained to my desk, and I told myself I'd make it up with a video call. I didn't realize how much that absence mattered. Haley would mention inside jokes I didn't get. Mom referenced dinners I wasn't invited to. My old bedroom, once my sanctuary, was now a storage room for craft supplies. The distance wasn't just physical, it was emotional, creeping in like fog. I started wondering, was I too wrapped up in my world to notice theirs? Driving those 2 hours to surprise Amber, I felt that doubt gnaw at me. Had I let work become my family while my real one drifted? I pushed it down, focused on the soup, on being the sister who shows up. But deep down, I feared I'd lost my place in their lives. That fear grew as I turned onto our street, not knowing I was about to face a betrayal that would force me to question everything. My role, my love, my family. Have you ever felt like you're losing the people you love most, even when you're trying your hardest? That's where I was, and the truth was waiting to break me open. Mom's call came on a quiet Thursday, her voice trembling just enough to catch my ear. "Megan, Amber's sick," she said. "Fever, sore throat, the whole mess. We're canceling her graduation party." Amber, my little sister 24, had just earned her degree from UMass Amherst, a triumph I'd been counting on celebrating. My heart sank for her, imagining her curled up, missing her big day. I didn't think twice. I told Mom I'd come anyway, but she brushed me off. "No need, sweetheart. We'll reschedule." Something felt off, but I chalked it up to her worry. That Saturday, I stood in my Boston apartment, chopping organic carrots, celery, and fresh herbs for Amber's favorite chicken soup. The recipe was Mom's, rich and comforting, the kind that warmed us through childhood winters. I remembered Amber at 6, wrapped in a blanket fort I'd built. Her fevered cheeks flushed as I spoon-fed her this same soup. I'd read her stories, check her temperature, play nurse when Mom and Dad worked late. Being the big sister meant being there no matter what. I splurged at the specialty grocery, organic chicken, imported egg noodles, because Amber deserved the best. Packing the soup into a cooler, I cushioned it with towels to keep it from spilling. The 2-hour drive to Framingham loomed, but I didn't mind. This was my role, the one who showed up, who fixed things. I pictured Amber's smile when I'd walk in, the way she'd roll her eyes but hug me anyway. I called Mom again to check on Amber, no answer. Dad's phone went to voicemail too. Even Haley, usually glued to her phone, didn't pick up. Only Ryan, studying in Germany, texted back, "Hope Amber feels better." The silence nagged at me, but I pushed it down. They were probably busy caring for her, right? I loaded the cooler into my car, the spring air crisp with promise, and hit the road, not knowing I was driving toward a truth that would shatter everything I thought I knew about my family. Have you ever felt a quiet unease, like the world's about to shift under you? That's where I was, soup in tow, heart open, completely unprepared. The highway stretched endless between Boston and Framingham, the hum of my tires a steady rhythm against my racing thoughts. 2 hours alone in the car gave me too much time to think. Had I been too absent lately? My job at Horizon Strategies consumed me. Late nights crafting pitches, chasing deadlines, proving I deserved that senior brand manager title. Framingham visits had dwindled from weekly to monthly. Each one rushed, my mind half on work. I'd breeze in, share a quick story about a big client win, then leave, thinking I was still part of the family pulse. But now doubts crept in. Haley's inside jokes I didn't get. Mom's vague mentions of gatherings I hadn't attended. Were they pulling away? I gripped the steering wheel tighter, the soup cooler bouncing gently on the passenger seat. I almost turned back at the halfway mark, a gas station glowing in the spring light. What if I was intruding? What if Amber didn't need me barging in with soup and big sister energy? But a knot in my gut kept me going, an unease I couldn't name. I tried calling Mom again, voicemail. Dad same. Haley's phone rang out. The silence was louder now, a warning I didn't want to hear. I texted Ryan again, but his reply was curt, distracted. My mind spun scenarios. Maybe they were at the hospital, maybe Amber was worse than Mom let on. But deep down I feared something else, something I couldn't face yet. I turned up the radio, trying to drown the doubt, but it clung to me like damp air. I told myself I was overthinking, that I was Mighty Meg, the fixer, the one who showed up. Amber needed me, and that was enough. The familiar exits ticked by, each one pulling me closer to home, or what I thought was home. Have you ever driven toward something, knowing it might hurt, but unable to stop? That's where I was, the soup a fragile anchor, my heart heavy with questions I wasn't ready to answer. Framingham's familiar streets welcomed me, spring sunshine bathing the neighborhood in a glow that felt cruelly cheerful. I turned onto Cedar Lane, expecting a quiet house, maybe a few cars if Mom and Dad were home. But the street was packed. Aunt Catherine's SUV, Uncle Paul's rusty truck, Cousin Jennifer's yellow Volkswagen, and a dozen others I knew by heart. My stomach twisted. Were they all here for Amber, rallying around her illness? Then I saw the balloons tied to the mailbox, blue and gold UMass colors, dancing in the breeze. My breath caught. Balloons didn't belong at a sickbed. I parked a block away, the only spot left, and sat frozen, hands gripping the wheel. The soup cooler mocked me from the passenger seat, a naive gesture now. I stepped out, the air warm, the sound of laughter and music growing louder with each step. Through the big bay window, I saw movement, people mingling, glasses raised in a toast, Amber's dark curls catching the light. She wasn't sick. She was radiant, the center of a celebration I'd been told didn't exist. My chest tightened, a mix of confusion and dread. I scanned the crowd. Mom arranging a platter, Dad pouring drinks, Haley laughing with cousins. Everyone was there, everyone but me. The knot in my gut became a fist. Why would Mom lie? Why would they all go along with it? I stood there, an outsider peering into my own family, the life I thought I belonged to. The music pulsed, a cruel contrast to the silence in my head. I wanted to run, to drive back to Boston and pretend this wasn't happening. But I couldn't. I needed to know why. Why they'd built this moment without me. Why they'd chosen to leave me out. I took a shaky breath, grabbed the cooler and walked toward the door, each step heavier than the last. The key in my hand felt foreign, like it no longer fit the lock, or the family inside. Have you ever stood on the edge of a truth you didn't want to face, knowing it would change everything? That's where I was, about to step into a betrayal I never saw coming, my heart breaking with every note of their laughter. The cooler pulled at my shoulder as I approached the door, the weight of it nothing compared to the dread pooling in my chest. Through the window, I glimpsed a photo collage on the entryway wall. Amber's life in snapshots, from gap-toothed grins to her senior portrait. I searched for myself, expecting to see us together, the big sister always by her side. But I wasn't there. Not in the birthday shots, not at her high school graduation, not even in the family picnic photos I remembered so clearly. My absence screamed louder than the music. They'd erased me, curated a version of Amber's story that didn't include me. The betrayal sank deeper, a cold blade twisting in my gut. I turned the key, the familiar click now a stranger's sound. The door opened to a house transformed. Streamers, balloons, a banner shouting, "Congratulations, Amber, class of 2025. The living room buzzed with relatives, their voices a hum of joy I wasn't part of. I stood in the entryway, invisible for a moment, the cooler a ridiculous prop in a scene I didn't belong to. Then cousin Jennifer saw me, her champagne flute halting mid-sip, eyes wide. Like a wave, the room noticed. Conversations faltered, heads turned, smiles froze. Amber, in a sundress, radiant and healthy, clutched a gift, her face paling. Mom dropped a deviled egg, the platter clattering. Dad paused mid-pour, champagne bottle hovering. The silence was suffocating, 30 pairs of eyes pinning me in place. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but my voice came out small, distant. "I brought soup," I said, "for Amber's fever." The words hung there, absurd, a lifeline to a lie they'd all upheld. No one moved. No one spoke. I felt like an intruder, a ghost crashing a party meant to forget me. Have you ever walked into a room and known, in an instant, that you weren't wanted? That's where I stood, soup in hand, heart shattering, surrounded by the family I thought was mine. The silence stretched, heavy as the cooler in my hand. Mom's face flickered with panic before she forced a smile. Too bright, too late. "Megan, sweetheart, what are you doing here?" Her voice cracked, betraying the lie. Amber stared at her sandals, guilt written in her hunched shoulders, unable to meet my eyes. Dad busied himself with a champagne bottle, wiping non-existent spills, his hands trembling slightly. Haley shifted, arms crossed, her glance darting between me and the floor. The room held its breath, relatives exchanging uneasy looks, waiting for me to react. I stood there, soup cooler grounding me, but I felt like I was floating, detached, a stranger in my own family's home. The banner above mocked me. "Congratulations, Amber," a celebration I'd been deliberately excluded from. Mom's words echoed, her flimsy excuse about Amber being sick, the party cancelled. They'd planned this, all of them, to keep me away. Why? What had I done to deserve this? The laughter I'd heard moments ago now felt like a slap, their joy built on my absence. I wanted to drop the cooler and run, to erase the image of their frozen faces. But I couldn't move. My voice, when it came, was steady, though my heart was breaking. "I thought Amber was sick," I said, each word a quiet accusation. No one answered. The truth hung between us, unspoken but undeniable. They didn't want me here. Have you ever felt like the people you love most built a world without you? That's where I was, an outsider in my own family. The soup a bitter reminder of the trust they'd shattered. The cooler in my hand felt like an anchor, dragging me down as I stood in the entryway of my family's home, a place that suddenly felt foreign. The room, moments ago alive with laughter and clinking glasses, froze into an eerie tableau. 30 pairs of eyes locked onto me, their joy snuffed out like a candle. Cousin Jennifer, mid-sip, let her champagne flute slip, the glass shattering on the hardwood floor, a sharp sound that cut through the silence. Amber, radiant in her sundress, clutched a wrapped gift, her face draining of color. Mom, Nancy, fumbled with a tray of deviled eggs, one tumbling to the ground, splattering yolk like a broken promise. Dad, Thomas, stood rigid by the drinks table, champagne bottle hovering mid-pour, his knuckles whitening. Haley, my sister, crossed her arms, her gaze darting to the floor, unable to meet mine. The banner above, "Congratulations Amber, class of 2025, mocked me, a celebration I'd been told was cancelled. I felt like a ghost, invisible yet impossibly present, crashing a moment meant to exclude me. My throat tightened, words clawing to escape, but when I spoke, my voice was small, almost lost in the heavy air. "I brought soup," I said, "for Amber's fever." The absurdity of it hung there, a lifeline to a lie they'd all upheld. No one moved. No one answered. The cooler burned my shoulder, a reminder of the care I'd poured into it. Organic chicken, fresh herbs, 2 hours on the road, only to walk into this betrayal. I scanned their faces, searching for an explanation, a hint of remorse, but found only discomfort, guilt, and something worse. Relief that I hadn't been there until now. Why would they lie, plan this without me? The family I'd built my life around, the ones I'd drop everything for, had shut me out. My heart pounded, a drumbeat of hurt and confusion. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but I stood rooted, the soup a pathetic shield against the truth unfolding before me. Have you ever felt the world you knew crack open, exposing a reality you weren't ready for? That's where I was, surrounded by the people I loved, yet utterly alone, the weight of their silence heavier than any words they could have spoken. Mom broke the silence first, her voice too bright, too forced, like she was auditioning for a role she didn't believe in. "Megan, sweetheart, what are you doing here?" "Amber." She recovered so fast, "We didn't want to bother you." The words were flimsy, a patchwork lie unraveling with every syllable. Her hands twisted together, betraying her panic. Amber stared at her sandals, her shoulders hunched, as if she could shrink away from the moment. Dad cleared his throat, muttering something about checking the grill, but stayed put, his eyes avoiding mine. Haley shifted, her arms still crossed, her silence louder than any excuse. I didn't believe Mom, not for a second. The balloons, the banner, the packed house. This wasn't a last-minute gathering. This was planned, deliberate, and I wasn't part of it. My legs moved before my mind caught up, carrying me to the downstairs bathroom, the cooler abandoned by the door. I needed air, space, a moment to breathe. The door clicked shut, muffling the party's hum, and I leaned against the sink, my reflection a stranger in the mirror. Mom's phone sat on the counter, screen lit with notifications. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. A group chat named Carter Family glowed, messages piling up. My thumb hovered, then tapped. The history stretched back months. Dinners I wasn't invited to, cookie bakes with cousins, video calls with Ryan in Germany. They'd planned Amber's party for weeks, debating menus, music, even how to keep it from me. "Megan's too busy," one message read. "She'll make it about her," said another. My breath hitched, the words blurring through tears. They hadn't forgotten me. They'd chosen to leave me out. The phone felt like a grenade, its truth exploding everything I thought I knew. I wanted to confront them, to shove the screen in their faces, but my hands shook too hard. How could they do this? My family, the ones I'd built my life around, had a secret life without me. I was Mighty Meg, the fixer, the achiever, but to them I was a burden. The bathroom walls closed in, the party's muffled laughter a cruel reminder of my exclusion. Have you ever found proof that the people you love don't want you? That's where I was, holding a phone that burned with their betrayal, my heart fracturing under the weight of their words. I stumbled out of the bathroom, the phone's screen still burning in my mind, each message a fresh wound. The cooler sat by the door, a symbol of my naivety, and I grabbed it, ready to flee. I couldn't face them, couldn't bear their guilty faces or flimsy excuses. The front door was steps away, freedom from this nightmare, but something caught my eye. Amber's graduation cap, tossed carelessly on the floor by the coat rack. Its gold tassel glinted, a quiet reminder of why I'd come, to celebrate her, to be her sister. My hand froze on the doorknob. Leaving would be easier, but it would mean giving up on her, on us. I set the cooler down, my resolve shifting. I wasn't running, not yet. I needed answers, even if they broke me. As I stood there, a memory surfaced, sharp and unbidden. Years ago, at a family dinner, Amber, maybe 16, had shown us a painting. Bold colors, abstract shapes, her heart poured onto canvas. I'd praised it, then suggested tweaks. Sharper lines, less chaos. I thought I was helping, guiding her talent. But her face fell, her excitement dimming. Later, Mom told me Amber cried, feeling her work wasn't enough. I'd brushed it off. Amber was sensitive, I told myself. But now, that moment replayed like a warning. Had I always done this? Fixed their lives, their dreams, until they felt small? Was that why they shut me out? The group chat's words echoed. Megan'll make it about her. I saw myself through their eyes. Not Mighty Meg, but a force that overshadowed, that corrected, that controlled. The realization stung, a mirror I didn't want to face. But Amber's cap anchored me. This was her day, her triumph, and I'd come to honor it, soup and all. I couldn't let my hurt erase that. I turned back, the party's noise swelling, my heart a mix of anger and resolve. I'd stay, not for revenge, but for truth, for her, for us. Have you ever wanted to run from pain but stayed because love held you back? That's where I was, cap in sight, choosing to face a family that didn't want me, hoping answers would hurt less than silence. I found Mom in her bedroom, away from the party's buzz, her hands fussing with a scarf on the dresser. Amber trailed behind me, reluctant, her eyes red. Dad followed, his steps heavy, as if he knew this moment was inevitable. The door clicked shut, muffling the celebration, and we stood in a tense circle, the air thick with unspoken words. I didn't ease into it. Why did you lie? I asked, my voice steady despite the storm inside. Mom flinched, her hands stilling. Megan, it wasn't like that, she started, but I cut her off. I saw the group chat. You planned this without me. Why? Amber looked away, twisting a bracelet, her silence louder than any answer. Mom sighed, sinking onto the bed, her face crumpling. Amber wanted one day without your shadow, she said, the words landing like a punch. My shadow. I stared at Amber, waiting for her to deny it, but she nodded, barely perceptible. You're so much, she whispered. Your job, your ideas, your everything. I wanted my day to be mine. The room spun. I was too much. I'd driven 2 hours with Soup, thinking I was the sister she needed. Dad spoke up, his voice gruff. Megan, you come in like a hurricane. Always fixing, always debating. We feel judged, like we can't keep up. Judged. I thought I was helping, lifting them up. But their words painted a different picture. Me as a force that overwhelmed, that dimmed their light. I remembered Amber's painting, my helpful critiques, and saw it now. How my need to perfect stole her pride. Mom admitted they'd avoided telling me because they knew I'd take over, plan better, shine brighter. The group chat was their escape, a space where they could breathe without my intensity. I wanted to argue to defend myself, but their faces, tired, honest, stopped me. They weren't just lying to me. They were protecting themselves from me. The truth cut deeper than the lie, exposing my blind spots, my flaws. I wasn't Mighty Meg to them. I was a weight they couldn't carry. Have you ever learned you're the problem in the story you thought you were saving? That's where I was in that bedroom, my family's truth stripping me bare, forcing me to see myself as they did. The bedroom door was still closed, but Aunt Catherine's whisper from the hallway pierced through, sharp and deliberate. "This is why we didn't tell her," she said to Uncle Paul, her voice low but not low enough. I froze, the words a final nail in the coffin of my trust. My eyes darted to Mom, Amber, Dad, expecting them to react, to defend me, but they didn't. Mom looked at her hands, Amber bit her lip, Dad stared at the floor. Their silence confirmed it. Catherine's whisper wasn't a slip. It was the truth they all shared. This wasn't a misunderstanding or a last-minute oversight. My exclusion was intentional, a collective decision to build a moment without me. The group chat, the lie about Amber's illness, the photo collage without my face. It was all planned, a family effort to keep me out. I felt like a stranger, standing in the house I grew up in, surrounded by people I'd loved my whole life. The walls seemed to close in, the familiar quilt on Mom's bed, the photos of us on her dresser, all mocking the closeness I thought we had. I wanted to scream, to tear down their excuses and force them to see my pain. But I couldn't move, my voice swallowed by the weight of their choice. Catherine's words echoed. "This is why. Why was I too much? Why was my love a burden?" I'd spent years being Mighty Meg they relied on, bandaging knees, planning parties, cheering their wins. But now I saw myself through their lens. A sister who corrected, a daughter who dominated, a force they needed a break from. The realization was a hollowing ache, like losing a piece of myself. I wasn't belong here, not in this family they'd built without me, not in the memories they'd curated to exclude me. The soup cooler, abandoned downstairs, felt like a cruel joke now, a gesture of care they didn't want. I was an outsider, my presence a disruption they'd planned to avoid. Have you ever realized the people you'd die for have a life that's better without you? That's where I was in that room, with Catherine's whisper echoing, my family's silence louder than any confession, confirming I was the one they'd chosen to leave behind. I didn't go home after the party. Couldn't. The lie, the group chat, Amber's words about my shadow, they churned in my head, a storm I couldn't outrun. I checked into a hotel in Framingham, the kind with thin walls and a humming vending machine. The room was sterile, but it gave me space to breathe, to think. Sleep didn't come. Instead, I sat on the stiff bed, laptop open, diving into articles on family dynamics, sibling roles, and resentment. I wasn't just hurt, I was determined. If my family saw me as a problem, I'd find a way to fix it, not by running or raging, but by facing the truth head-on. I scribbled notes on hotel stationery. Family roles, communication exercises, ways to rebuild trust. By 3 a.m. I had a plan. An intervention, not the dramatic kind you see on TV, but a structured chance to lay everything bare. I found exercises online. Index cards for honest feedback, family mapping to visualize our dynamics, even letter writing to process regrets. Each idea felt like a lifeline, a way to salvage the family I still loved, despite their betrayal. As dawn broke, I drove to the grocery store, the spring air cool against my sleepless eyes. I bought eggs, bacon, orange juice, bagels, comfort food to soften the morning's wait. Back at the hotel, I packed it all into reusable bags, my hands shaking with purpose. This wasn't about revenge. It was about redemption, about proving we could be more than our lies. Driving to the house, I felt the same knot in my gut as the day before. but now it was mixed with resolve. I parked, grabbed the bags, and walked up the familiar path, the balloons from Amber's party still tied to the mailbox, wilted but defiant. Mom answered the door, her face a mix of surprise and wariness. "Megan, what's this?" she asked, eyeing the groceries. "Breakfast," I said, my voice steady. "And a chance to talk. All of us." She hesitated, but I pushed past, setting the bags on the kitchen counter. Amber, Haley, and Dad drifted in, their expressions guarded, as if bracing for a fight. I didn't blame them. Yesterday, I'd walked into their secret celebration. Today, I was demanding their truth. I laid out notebooks, pens, index cards, tools for a conversation we'd avoided too long. "We're doing this," I said, meeting their eyes. "We're family and we're broken. But we can fix it if we're honest. Have you ever known something had to change, even if it scared you to start?" That's where I was, standing in our kitchen, groceries and hope in hand, ready to confront the mess we'd made. The kitchen table was cluttered with breakfast, bacon sizzling, bagels toasted, orange juice in mismatched glasses, but the tension was thicker than the coffee Dad brewed. Mom Nancy fussed with plates, avoiding my gaze. Amber picked at a bagel, her eyes on the table. Haley sat stiffly, arms crossed, while Dad, Thomas, leaned against the counter, his jaw set. I spread out the notebooks and pens, explaining the first exercise. Family mapping. We'd each draw how we saw our family, who felt close, who felt far, who held power. The idea was simple but raw, a way to see our truth in lines and shapes. Dad scoffed, his voice gruff. "This is touchy-feely nonsense, Megan. We don't need diagrams to talk." His words stung, a reminder of yesterday's confrontation, when he called me a hurricane. I felt the room waver, their skepticism threatening to derail my plan. "Dad, please," I said, my voice cracking. "I drove 2 hours with soup because I thought Amber was sick. I found a group chat that shut me out. We're not okay. Just try, for me, for us." My eyes burned, but I held his gaze, pleading not for mighty Meg, but for Megan, the daughter who still needed her family. He looked away, rubbing his neck, then sighed. "Fine. But don't expect miracles." He pulled out a chair, the scrape loud in the quiet room. Relief washed over me, fragile but real. We started drawing, pencils scratching paper, each of us lost in our version of the Carters. Amber's map hit me hardest. She drew me as a sun, huge and blazing, with her Haley, Mom, and Dad as planets orbiting far away, small and dim. "You're always at the center," she said, her voice soft but heavy. "We're just in your light." The image seared into me, a truth I hadn't seen. My drive, my achievements, my fixes, they weren't lifting them up. They were casting shadows. Mom's map showed us scattered, no one close, her avoidance of conflict a silent force. Dad drew himself on the edge, admitting he stayed quiet to keep peace. Haley's map linked her to Amber and Ryan, but me? I was a distant star, separate. Each drawing was a mirror, reflecting our fractured bonds. I wanted to argue, to say they'd misunderstood me, but their lines told a story I couldn't ignore. We were a family, but not the one I'd imagined. Have you ever seen yourself through someone else's eyes and realized you're not who you thought? That's where I was, staring at Amber's son, my family's truth laid bare, wondering how we'd let it come to this. The maps left us raw, the kitchen air heavy with truths we'd never spoken. I pushed forward, handing out index cards for the next exercise. "Write 3 things about each person," I said. "Something you like, something you don't, and a secret you've kept." The idea was to strip away pretense, to say what we'd buried. Mom hesitated, her pen hovering, but I nodded, urging her on. We wrote in silence, the scratch of pens a fragile bridge between us. When we read aloud, the words were like stones, heavy but necessary. Amber went first, her voice trembling as she read her card about me. I like how you always show up, Megan, like with the soup. But I don't like how you take over like my ideas aren't enough. My secret. I've been scared to tell you I don't want your fixes. Her words landed like a blow, echoing her painting critique years ago. My help that hurt. Haley's card cut deeper. I like your strength, Meg, how you never give up. But I hate that you can't just enjoy the moment. You always have a plan. My secret. I've stopped telling you things because you'll try to solve them. I swallowed hard, their truths piling up. Mom admitted she loved my ambition but resented how it made her feel small. Her secret being she'd hidden gatherings to avoid my intensity. Dad's card was blunt. I like your brains, kid, but you argue to win and it shuts us down. I never told you I feel outmatched. Each card was a mirror, showing me as overwhelming, controlling, a force they navigated rather than embraced. I read mine last, my voice shaking. I like how we celebrate together, but I don't like how you kept me out. My secret. I'm scared you only love me for what I do, not who I am. The room stilled, my fear laid bare. Their faces softened, guilt flickering, but no one spoke. The cards exposed our wounds. My perfectionism, their avoidance, our mutual hurt. I wanted to fix it, to erase their pain, but for once I stayed quiet, letting the truth breathe. We weren't just a family. We were a battlefield, scarred by unspoken resentment. Have you ever heard the people you love tell you who you really are to them? That's where I was, holding cards that burned with honesty, my role as Mighty Meg crumbling under their words. The index cards left us exposed, our truths hanging like fog in the kitchen. I pushed on, pulling out blank paper for the next exercise. Letters to our younger selves. Write to who you were at 10 or 12, I said. What would you tell them? What do you wish you'd done differently? The idea was to face our regrets, to see where our paths diverged. Mom sighed but picked up a pen. Amber stared at her paper, then started writing. Dad grumbled but joined in. His hand slow but steady. Haley's pen moved fast, her eyes already glistening. I wrote to 12-year-old Megan, the girl who earned Mighty Meg by fixing everyone's problems. You don't have to control everything, I wrote. Your family loves you for you, not your solutions. Let them shine too. The words felt like a confession, an apology to the sister I'd been, always striving, always shaping others' lives. When we shared, Haley went first, her voice breaking. I told little Haley to speak up, to not hide her fears. I've kept so much from you, Meg, because I knew you'd jump in with answers. My job struggles, my doubts. I buried them to avoid your fixes. Her tears fell, and I reached for her hand, guilt twisting in my chest. Amber's letter wished she'd trusted her own voice, not let my advice drown it. I was 10, painting messy pictures, and you made them better. I stopped showing you my art because it wasn't mine anymore. Mom wrote to herself at 11, urging courage to face conflict, admitting her avoidance let our rifts grow. Dad's letter was short but raw, telling young Thomas to talk more, not hide behind silence. I let you take the lead, Meg, because it was easier, he said, his eyes wet. Each letter was a window into our regrets, our choices that built this fractured family. Haley's sobs echoed my own pain. I'd wanted to help, but I'd pushed them away. The letters weren't just words. They were bridges, tentative but real, connecting us to who we'd been and who we could be. I saw now how my need to fix had hurt them, how my love came with strings. Have you ever wished you could rewrite the past, not for you but for those you love? That's where I was, holding a letter to my younger self, seeing my family's tears, knowing we'd hurt each other but wanting to heal. The letters left us raw, our regrets laid bare on the kitchen table, surrounded by half-eaten bagels and cold coffee. I felt drained but driven, knowing we weren't done. I took a breath, my voice trembling as I spoke. There's one more thing I need to say, I said, meeting their eyes. Mom's wary, Amber's guarded, Haley's red-rimmed, Dad's steady but tired. I've spent my life being Mighty Meg, the one who fixes, who achieves, who makes things right. But yesterday, finding that group chat, seeing that party without me, I realized something. I feel like a workhorse, valued for what I do, not who I am. I'm scared you only love me when I'm useful. The words spilled out, a truth I'd buried under years of effort, of showing up, of being the sister they could count on. The room went still, my fear echoing in the silence. Mom's hand flew to her mouth, tears welling. Amber looked stricken, her bracelet twisting faster. Haley reached for me, her touch tentative. Dad's jaw tightened, but he didn't look away. For the first time they saw me. Not the achiever, not the fixer, but Megan, raw and vulnerable. Mom spoke first, her voice thick. "Megan, we love you. But we've been cowards, avoiding you because it was easier than facing your intensity." Amber nodded, her voice small. "I didn't want you at the party because I knew you'd make it perfect, and I'd feel small. I'm sorry." Haley's tears fell again. "I hid things because I didn't want to disappoint you. We should have told you how we felt." Dad's admission was the hardest. "I let you take over because I didn't know how to match you. We were wrong to shut you out." Their confessions were a balm and a blade, soothing my pain but cutting with their honesty. They'd lied, excluded me, but not out of hate, out of fear of feeling less in my shadow. We'd all failed each other, me with my control, them with their silence. The kitchen felt different now, not a battlefield but a space for healing, fragile but possible. We weren't fixed, but we were honest, seeing each other's wounds for the first time. I felt lighter, not because the hurt was gone, but because we'd shared it. Have you ever bared your soul to those you love, hoping they'd catch you? That's where I was, surrounded by my family's truths, our brokenness on the table, but with a spark of hope that we could rebuild. 2 months after that shattering day, I pulled into the familiar driveway in Framingham, my heart lighter but cautious, like stepping onto new ice. Amber's rescheduled graduation party was happening, and this time I was invited. Openly, deliberately, no secrets. The invitation had come via a new group chat, one that included me, a small but significant shift. As I walked up the path, the house glowed with string lights, the air warm with summer's promise. No balloons this time, just a simple banner. Amber, class of 2025. Inside, the Carters were in motion. Mom, Nancy, arranging platters of her famous sliders. Dad, Thomas, manning the grill. Haley laughing with cousins. And Amber, radiant, greeting guests with a confidence I hadn't seen before. The scene was familiar, yet different, softer, as if we'd all exhaled a breath we'd held too long. We were using new tools, ones forged in that raw kitchen intervention. Amber set boundaries now, her voice steady when she asked me not to reorganize the dessert table. "I've got this, Meg," she said, and I nodded, stepping back, a pang of pride mixing with the urge to fix. I listened, really listened, letting her lead her moment. Mom checked in with me, asking how I felt, not just what I'd achieved at work. Dad offered me a soda, his small talk a bridge we were rebuilding. Haley shared a story about her new job, pausing to ask my thoughts. Not solutions, just thoughts. These were small acts, but they felt monumental, proof we were trying. The group chat buzzed with updates. No longer a secret club, but a shared space where I belonged. We weren't perfect. Old habits crept in. I caught myself suggesting a better playlist, but Amber's raised eyebrow stopped me, and we laughed, a moment of grace. The party wasn't just a celebration of Amber's degree. It was a milestone for us, a family learning to be honest, to see each other without shadows. I stood in the backyard watching Amber open gifts and felt a warmth I'd missed. Connection, fragile but real. We'd faced our lies, our hurts, and chosen to rebuild. Have you ever felt a family shift, not back to what was, but toward something new? That's where I was, surrounded by love we'd fought for, knowing it was worth every tear. A week after the party, Amber and I took a walk in a Framingham park. Her camera slung around her neck, clicking at wildflowers and dappled sunlight. It was her idea, a chance to share her passion without my usual big sister input. I'd always seen her photography as a hobby to perfect, better angles, sharper focus, but that day I kept quiet, letting her lead. She framed a butterfly on a leaf, her eyes bright with focus, and I just watched, awed by her vision. "What do you think?" she asked, showing me the shot. I wanted to suggest tweaking the exposure, but I caught myself. "It's beautiful," I said, meaning it. "You see things I never would." Her smile was shy but real, a bridge we were building one moment at a time. That walk felt like a gift, a chance to know Amber not as my little sister, but as her own person, free from my shadow. Back home we started Truth Nights, a monthly ritual born from our intervention. The first one was awkward. Mom burned the lasagna, Dad grumbled about more talking, but we sat around the kitchen table, sharing one truth each. Amber admitted she felt pressured to be perfect. I confessed I struggled to let go of control. Haley shared her fear of failing. Dad owned his silence. Mom spoke last, her voice soft, saying she'd let our rifts grow to avoid conflict. Each truth was a step, clumsy but honest, toward a family that didn't hide. The nights became sacred, a space to check in, to be real. Amber brought her photos to one, not for critique but to share her joy. I listened, nodding, letting her shine. These moments weren't flashy, but they were ours, proof we could change. The group chat now held Truth Night reminders, photos of Mom's better lasagna, even Ryan's updates from Germany. We weren't the family of my childhood, loud and seamless, but we were something new. Raw, intentional, connected. I looked at Amber's butterfly photo later, saved on my phone, and saw her strength, her light. Have you ever learned to love someone by letting them be themselves? That's where I was, walking beside Amber, our family's Truth Nights anchoring us, rebuilding what we'd nearly lost. Healing didn't happen in one night. It came in quiet moments, one-on-one, where we faced our past. A weekend after Amber's party, Dad asked me to help fix his old Chevy in the garage, a rare invitation. As we tinkered under the hood, tools clinking, he opened up, his voice gruff but honest. "You've always been so smart, Meg," he said, tightening a bolt. It intimidated me. I felt like I couldn't keep up, so I let you take the wheel. I paused, wrench in hand, stunned. Dad, the man who grilled steaks and told bad jokes, felt threatened by me. I saw now how my debates, my need to win, had pushed him to the sidelines. "I just wanted to make you proud," I said, my voice catching. He looked at me, eyes softening. "You do, kid. But I should have said it more." We laughed about my teenage know-it-all phase, the garage a safe space for truths we'd avoided. That day rebuilt a bridge I hadn't known was broken. Later, over coffee with Haley, another truth emerged. She admitted she'd switched majors in college, from biology to communications, to escape my shadow. "You were pre-med, acing everything," she said, stirring her latte. "I couldn't compete, so I chose something you hadn't touched." The words hurt, but they made sense. My success, my drive, had felt like a yardstick she couldn't measure up to. "I never wanted that," I told her, reaching for her hand. "I just wanted you to shine." She nodded, tears in her eyes, and we talked, really talked, about her dreams, not mine. These conversations weren't easy. They forced me to see my role in their pain. But they also showed me their courage, their willingness to meet me halfway. Ryan, over a video call from Germany, shared his own story. Teachers comparing him to me, pressure I'd never meant to create. Each talk was a step, a chance to know my family as people, not roles. We weren't erasing the past, but we were building a future, one honest word at a time. Have you ever found healing in a conversation you didn't expect? That's where I was, fixing cars and sipping coffee. My family's truths weaving us closer, stronger than before. As summer faded, I sat on the porch one evening, the Framingham air cool, The hum of crickets a quiet backdrop to my thoughts. Amber's party, the truth nights, the talks with Dad and Haley. They were milestones, but the hardest work was inward. I had to forgive myself, not just for the lie I'd walked into, but for the blind spots I'd carried for years. I'd been Mighty Meg, the fixer, the achiever, thinking my love was enough. But I hadn't seen how my intensity dimmed their light, how my need to perfect stole their space. Amber's painting, Haley's hidden struggles, Dad's silence. I'd missed it all, too focused on being the sister they needed. That realization was a weight, a guilt I could have let define me. But I chose differently. I forgave myself, not because I was blameless, but because holding on to shame wouldn't heal us. I saw now that family isn't just love, it's courage, the kind that faces hard truths and keeps going. We'd lied to each other, hid our pain, built walls to feel safe. But in that kitchen with index cards and tears, we'd chosen honesty, messy and raw. That choice was our strength, proof we could be more than our mistakes. I thought of Amber's butterfly photo, its delicate wings a reminder of her resilience, of ours. We weren't perfect, we'd slip, argue, fall back into old habits. But we had tools now. Truth nights, open chats, a promise to listen. The lesson wasn't just mine. It was universal. Families break, not from lack of love, but from fear of truth. Healing comes when you face it, when you say, I hurt you, or I'm scared, and stay anyway. I looked at the stars above, feeling small but whole, knowing we'd fought for this. The group chat pinged. A photo from Mom, a cake for Ryan's birthday call. I smiled, replying, part of their world again. Have you ever forgiven yourself to save the ones you love? That's where I was, on that porch, my family's courage my anchor, our truth the light guiding us home. I sat on a park bench in Framingham, the pond's gentle ripples catching the late summer light, a mirror to our turbulent journey. That day, driving 2 hours with Soup, expecting to care for Amber, only to find my family celebrating without me, shattered something inside. Their lie, the secret group chat, Amber's words about my shadow. It broke my heart, but it also broke us open. We faced the pain, the truths we'd hidden, and chose to rebuild, not with anger or revenge, but with courage. Healing isn't one moment. It's countless choices to be honest, to listen, to stay through the hurt. My family showed me that love demands bravery, the kind that stares down betrayal and keeps fighting for connection. We're not perfect. Old wounds linger, new ones may come, but we're trying, and that's our strength. Have you ever found hope in facing a truth that scared you? That's where I am, reflecting on a family reborn, grateful for every hard-won step. This story isn't just mine. It's for anyone who's felt the ache of exclusion, who's questioned if their family's love has strings attached. Maybe you've stood outside a moment you weren't invited to, your heart sinking at the laughter inside. Maybe you've discovered a secret that fractured your trust, or realized you've hurt those you love without knowing. I want your story. Drop it in the comments. Share a time you were left out or how you mended a family wound. Your truth could light the way for someone lost in their own pain. Ask yourself, what truth do you need to tell your family? It's a daunting question, but it's the seed of healing. If this story hit home, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to stay with me. I read every comment, and I'm here for you, rooting for your journey. Next week, I'm sharing a video with 5 practical tips to talk to your family without sparking a fight. Real tools we use to rebuild, from truth nights to setting boundaries. It's for anyone craving honest, lasting connection. Don't miss it. You've stayed with me through 70 minutes of raw truth. Betrayal, confrontation, redemption, and I'm so grateful. This wasn't about revenge. It was about facing the mess of family and choosing love anyway. Let's keep this going. Share your pain, your hope, your path to healing in the comments. What's the truth you're ready to face? Let's face it together, because no one should navigate this alone. Thank you for being here. It means more than words can say.